Hello, today I would like to show you a little tip that I use. Instead of buying pasta sauce from a jar, I make my own. The recipe that I use is from Autumn's Fix-A cookbook. I used to do my own version that was very similar to this, but since trying her recipe, I really like it because I know that it's okay to add red wine. And I really like the way the flavor comes out in this. I used to use a lot less. I didn't put onions in mine. I just put peppers and garlic and some fresh herbs, and it still tasted really good. But I really recommend Autumn's cookbook to anyone who's looking to try recipes, especially if you're measuring specific ingredients, because you need everything in specific portions if you're trying to lose weight or maintain or even gain muscle. So I want to show you what I'm doing. First, I put a little bit of olive oil in my big sauce pot, and then I put in some onions and red pepper. Now, her recipe doesn't call for a red pepper, but I like to put half of a red pepper in, finely chopped, because it draws out a really good flavor. Roasted red pepper is delicious. So that's why I add that. And a tip that I learned today was do not mix your healthy fats in your meal, because one healthy fat is made from obviously one thing, for instance olive oil. Another one is made from another thing, for instance coconut oil. They're made from two different things, olives and coconuts. They're going to have a different density, consistency, heating temperature, cooking temperature, smoke temperature, everything's different. Everything's science when it comes to food. So you don't want to mix those. When you put them in your body at the same time, your body immediately does a reaction. Your body changes the pH of things, your body changes the alkalinity of things, and your body will rearrange properties. So by adding them together, say you use coconut oil on your vegetables and olive oil in something that you sauteed, it's going to completely turn rancid once it hits your body, and it's going to cause inflammation and bloating. I did not know this before, so I would take a recipe where it tasted so good. I'd melt coconut oil in with my vegetables, and then I would, make chicken parmesan with olive oil. That's actually not good. So I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm going to start doing my vegetables with olive oil that day, and then maybe, for another meal I'll use coconut oil because it's still really good. So you want your onions to be translucent, and then you add garlic. I used to mince my own garlic, but I find that it's a lot easier for me to just measure it out with the squeeze bottle. So I need 4 cloves of garlic in there. So you stir that in for about a minute. And the timing is really important with this too, because you want the flavors to develop. Making sauce actually takes quite a long time. If you have an Italian family or anybody who likes to make homemade sauce, Grandma spends a long time in the kitchen, right? Well, the good news to this is you don't have to spend a long time in the kitchen every single day. You can make a big pot of this, and it seriously goes a long way, especially when you're portioning properly. You can use this sauce. I like to put half of it in my fridge, half of it in my freezer, and I use it throughout the week. I'll make pizza, I'll make chicken parmesan, I will make eggplant parmesan, I will make, today I'm going to have actually spaghetti squash with turkey meatballs that I pre-made yesterday, also from scratch, and with the sauce. So the pasta, I'm going to have a vegetable. Now once you let that go for a little while, you add your tomato paste. So the key to meal prepping is making big batches, so you're only dirtying your kitchen one time. And you don't have to spend the whole week doing crazy stuff. And if you're really busy with your job, you don't have to spend a lot of time doing things. So that's why I really love using this specific recipe. Now, I buy organic whole tomatoes because Autumn recommends the whole tomatoes for their quality purpose. When they're whole, they have a better quality. When they're diced up, they use a lesser quality because you don't notice as much. If they look watery, they're not really that good. And I really love organic food. When I can, I'll buy organic. So then I add a 1/4 cup of red wine and let that cook down. You don't want to let the tomato paste burn, so that's why you have to add another liquid and constantly stir it. Now you want the alcohol to cook out of the wine, obviously. So you're going to let that cook. And it smells so good, seriously. If you've ever made sauce with wine before, it smells amazing. I'm using a Merlot, but you can use any red wine that you like. I just happen to think that Merlot has a really, really good flavor for this sauce, especially when you mix it with the pepper. Okay, so my cookbook says to let that cook for 2 to 3 minutes. And then I'm going to add my tomatoes, which I pureed in my blender since they were whole tomatoes. I want my sauce not to be really thick. If you cook it long enough, the tomatoes will break down, or you could dice them, but I prefer my sauce to be just to have the onion and the pepper thickness to it. Okay, so while that's cooking down, I'm going to measure out agave nectar. Now the thing about jarred pasta that you find in the store is it always has sugar or high fructose corn syrup in it. Agave nectar is just like sugar, but it's better for you. It's made from the agave plant, and your body is going to process it a little bit better than it would other sugars, especially refined white sugars. I'm going to stir 1 tablespoon. And it calls for 1 more. 2 tablespoons. Now, why do we put sugar in pasta sauce? It's not for flavor. It's actually to break up the acidity of the tomatoes. When you eat so much acid, your teeth and your body are all affected by it. So you want to cut that a little bit. Okay, then I want to add my tomatoes. And I'm just going to use my little spatula to scrape out the can because there's a lot of good juices in there that I didn't bother scraping out when I blended it because it's just juice. I like to make sure I use every little thing when I cook. I don't like to waste it. Now I have used fresh tomatoes before, that's fine too. But I find that canned tomatoes are so much easier. You don't have to do all of the dicing. The blender does all the work for you. Okay, so I'm just going to pour this in a little bit at a time. Careful, it doesn't splash on me. You want to help, Mommy?
No.
No. Why not? Don't climb on that, please. I try to get my daughter to cook with me as much as possible so she can get a feel for things, but I don't obviously let her unpot things or the knives. Okay, so I'm going to stir this. And then it calls for salt and pepper. I'm going to measure that out really quick. I need 1 teaspoon and 1/4 teaspoon. Now I'm using Himalayan salt, and I'm using ground black pepper. You don't have to use Himalayan salt, you can use sea salt, but you cannot use regular table salt because that is not good for you. Your body is not going to process it as well as it's going to process sea salt or Himalayan salt. You actually do need salt in your body because it helps with water retention. It helps with your electrolytes. Okay, now I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to reduce the heat to low and gently boil it, stirring occasionally for about 3 minutes. Then I'm going to add a Parmesan cheese rind to flavor it, and then I'm going to let it go for about a half an hour. Her book says for an hour, but I don't think that it needs to really cook that long. But if you want to develop the flavor more, you're definitely welcome to do that. And then at the very end, I'm going to add fresh basil that I have saved in the freezer. And you will know how to do that from my previous video. So that's just what the sauce looks like. And I'm just going to let it boil. It looks like the jarred pasta sauce. It's the same thing. It's just you're doing a little bit of extra work so that way you can be healthy. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know.